Imagine you need grain. You have wool. The grain merchant does not want wool. He wants copper. The coppersmith wants wine. The vintner wants grain. You are back where you started. This is the classic economist's story of barter. The idea that before money existed, every exchange required both parties to want exactly what the other offered. The so-called double coincidence of wants. It is a compelling and intuitive picture, and it has driven economics textbooks for generations. Many anthropologists, most famously David Graeber in Debt, the First 5,000 Years, have argued that this picture is largely a theoretical myth, that real pre-monetary societies relied far more on credit, reciprocal obligation, and communal trust than on the awkward back and forth of direct barter. The debate is very much alive, but whether the impetus was barter's inefficiency, a ruler's desire to control value, or the bookkeeping demands of temple economies, the practical problem these earliest coins solved was the same. How do you move wealth quickly and reliably between strangers? For millennia, clever people tried to address this. In early Mesopotamia, copper gave way to silver as the preferred medium of trade. Temple authorities fixed exchange rates between barley, silver, and other key commodities, which meant you could, in principle, pay for almost anything with almost anything else. But this still required weighing. It required trust. It required a scribe, a balance, and an argument. Then, sometime around the late 7th century BC, in a small kingdom on the western edge of Anatolia, someone stamped a lump of pale yellow metal with the head of a lion, and the world changed. The kingdom was Lydia, the metal was electrum. And what that stamp meant, for the first time in human history, was this: you do not need to weigh it, you do not need to argue about it. The king has already decided what it is worth. That is the birth of the price. Lydia occupied what is now western Turkey, a prosperous kingdom renowned for its natural resources, particularly precious metals. Its strategic position along major trade routes between the Aegean, the Near East, and the Mediterranean made it a central hub for commerce. At the heart of this wealth was a river, the Pactolus, also known in antiquity as the Chrysaorus, meaning the gold flowing, rises from Mount Tmolus and flows directly through the ruins of the ancient city of Sardis. The linkage between Lydia, electrum, and the beginning of coinage is not hard to understand. Electrum was indigenous to the region, and by the 7th century BCE was being panned and dug from the Pactolus and other Lydian streams in legendary quantities, producing the fabulous wealth of the Lydian royal dynasty. Electrum is a natural or artificial alloy of gold with at least 20% silver. Most natural electrum also contains small amounts of copper, iron, and other metals. It was much better for early coinage than pure gold, mostly because it was harder and more durable, but also because techniques for refining gold were not yet widespread. Here is the key fact that most retellings miss. The gold content of naturally occurring electrum in western Anatolia ranges broadly from around 70 to 90%, though the precise range varies across deposits and is still studied by scholars. Yet laboratory analyses of ancient Lydian coins from the same region have found their actual gold content averaging closer to 54%, with the rest being silver and a small fraction of copper. In the influential but debated reading of this evidence, the Lydians had already developed silver refining technology and were deliberately adding refined silver to local native electrum. These were not, on this interpretation, just lumps of river metal. They were engineered objects, built to a specification, and the gap between face value and intrinsic value generated a significant profit for the issuing authority. The Lydian stater was made from a specific and consistent mix of approximately 55% gold, 45% silver, and a small balance of copper. Silver and copper were added to natural electrum to achieve a more durable and balanced alloy. The extra copper, though it slightly reduced the coin's intrinsic value, allowed it to exhibit a golden hue, unlike the pale white gold color of pure electrum. The coins were struck by hand. They bore a design on one side only, a result of the primitive method of manufacture. The coins were hand-struck. That design was a lion's head, symbol of royal authority, punched into one face while the other received a rough square impression from the anvil's punch. In Lydia, electrum was minted into coins weighing about 4.7 grams, each valued at 1/3 of a stater, meaning standard. 3 of these coins totaled one stater, approximately 14.1 grams, about 1 month's pay for a soldier. The question of exactly who first ordered these coins struck remains genuinely debated. The first coins under the Lydian dynasty were neither gold nor silver but electrum. The dating of these first stamped coins is one of the most frequently debated topics of ancient numismatics, with dates ranging from 700 BC to 550 BC, but the most common scholarly opinion places them at or near 600 BC. The earliest daters are believed to date to around the second half of the 7th century BCE, during the reign of King Alyattes. The clearest physical evidence comes from a temple. In excavations conducted in 1904 and 1905, led by the archaeologist D. G. Hogarth with support from the British Museum, beneath the great Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, archaeologists discovered 95 electrum coins in the foundation deposit of the archaic temple, part of a total of over 100 coins recovered from the site across subsequent excavations. Found among the foundations below Ephesus's successive temples of Artemis, these small lumps of precious metal represent the earliest coins known to archaeology. But there was a problem with electrum, a serious one. Coins in Lydia were made of electrum, a naturally occurring gold-silver alloy. While electrum coins had been in circulation since the reign of Alyattes around 650 BC, their value was unpredictable due to varying gold-to-silver ratios. A merchant receiving a handful of these coins could never be entirely certain what proportion was gold and what was silver. The coin looked golden, but how golden was it really? By the time Croesus succeeded his father Alyattes as king of Lydia around 561 BC, electrum coinage had already been used in Asia Minor for decades. Though the motivation for what he did next is nowhere recorded, it is generally assumed he meant to make it easier to determine the intrinsic value of the coins. Croesus solved the problem with chemistry and power. The earliest unequivocal archaeological evidence of gold parting was discovered at Sardis in Lydia, associated with the reign of King Croesus, who is often credited with introducing the concept of minted currency. Cementation was used to recover pure gold from electrum. Thin sheets of electrum were placed in a ceramic pot, separated by a mixture of salt and brick dust. The mixture was cooked at low temperatures in ovens until only pure gold remained. The separated silver was then independently refined using a different technique called cupellation. The result was revolutionary. The gold and silver crosids formed the world's first bimetallic monetary system around 550 BC. Croesus replaced all the electrum coins with gold and silver coins, using a single coin type, the facing foreparts of a lion and a bull. These coins featured a lion and a bull on the front, possibly symbolizing the two metals or drawing from common Near Eastern motifs. The reverse side had simple stamped squares, a feature of early coinage. King Croesus refined coinage by transitioning from electrum to pure gold and silver coins. He introduced a consistent exchange rate, 10 silver staters to 1 gold stater, which facilitated international trade and marked the beginning of bimetallic monetary systems. Now value was not just stamped, it was guaranteed. You knew exactly what you held. Unlike the earlier Lydian electrum coins, whose overvaluation kept them from circulating outside Lydian territory, the pure metal coins of Croesus travelled widely. This was especially true of the gold crosades, which gained popularity as a kind of international trade currency in the Aegean world. Scholars note that gold crosades appear to have continued circulating and being held as prestige reserves across the 5th century Greek world, a testament to the trust that Croesus's standardized coinage had established. 100 years after Croesus, Greek city-states were still hoarding his coins. That is a testament to trust. And then, at the height of his wealth and confidence, Croesus made a fatal mistake. Croesus consulted the oracle of Delphi, who told him that he would destroy a great empire should he attack Cyrus the Great of Persia. His wealth was proverbial, and he had made many rich gifts to the oracle at Delphi. The oracle told him that if he marched against the Persians he would destroy a great empire. He assumed the empire to be destroyed was Persia's. He was wrong. When Croesus decided to march his army home for winter, Cyrus pursued him into Lydia and confronted him a second time near Fimbra. Cyrus deployed dromedaries to disperse the Lydian cavalry, forcing Croesus to retreat into Sardis, which fell after a 14-day siege. What happened next is one of the most consequential moments in monetary history. The conqueror did not destroy what Croesus had built. When the Persian king Cyrus the Great defeated Croesus in the mid-540s and added the Lydian kingdom to the Persian Empire, Cyrus not only retained Sardis as a major administrative center, but also saw to it that the minting of the established lion and bull coinage was continued. After defeating Croesus, Cyrus adopted the use of gold coinage as the main currency of his kingdom. The use of the Crusade coins under the Persian Empire would continue under Cyrus, ending only after Darius the Great replaced them with the Persian daric. The idea was too powerful to kill. It spread east and west at once. The status standardization and hallmark design inspired neighboring cultures, including the Greeks, to develop their own coinage systems. Greek city-states adopted similar principles, particularly for silver drachms. Darius I introduced the daric, the first gold coin with a standardized value throughout the Achaemenid Empire. Consider what had actually happened. Before the electrum stater, value was always a negotiation. Two merchants, a scale, a dispute. After the stater, value was a declaration. The king had spoken. The lion's head said, "This coin is worth this much," and the empire behind it guarantees that claim. According to a consensus of numismatic historians, the Lydian stater was the first coin officially issued by a government in world history, and was the model for virtually all subsequent coinage. For a coin to be legitimately considered such, it must clearly be issued by a governing authority. This distinguishes coins from tokens, barter items, and other limited forms of money. That sovereign guarantee, the state's promise stamped in metal, is the same promise behind every banknote in your wallet today. We have grown so accustomed to using little round pieces of metal to buy things that it is easy to forget coins arrived quite late in the history of the world. For over 2,000 years, states ran complex economies and international trading networks without a single coin to hand. One river of pale gold flowing through the ruins of a city in western Turkey, gave birth to the price. And every price set in every market on earth, from the bazaars of ancient Persia to the digital exchanges of the 21st century, carries the memory of that lion's head, pressed into glittering metal by a craftsman in Sardis 2,600 years ago. The Agora is open. It has never closed since. Every episode of the Agora takes many hours to research, verify, and craft, because the story of money deserves to be told properly. If you found this worthwhile, subscribe and turn on notifications to follow the series as it unfolds. Thank you for watching.